Hi everyone, Teddy Baldassarre with TeddyBaldassarre.com, and in this video we're looking at a new watch from Certina with the DS PH1000M with a turquoise dial. So on this channel we cover watches available for purchase on our website, TeddyBaldassarre.com, as an authorized dealer. So in this video, deep dive on this timepiece, final points of consideration at the end, but also throughout the video if you have further questions or are looking to buy this watch, check out the link in the description down below to the product page. But without further ado, let's jump into the video, take a closer look at this watch. One lesser known Swiss brand I am quick to get behind in the arena of dive watches is Certina. As an abbreviated background, Certina has deep roots dating back to 1888, with one of their most significant horological achievements coming in 1959 with their DS or double security case concept that encapsulated the caliber within a shock absorbing ring intended to alleviate the negative effects of hard knocks on the movement's timekeeping abilities. In addition, the crown system had its own proprietary approach for offering a watertight seal, enabling 200 meters of water resistance in a decade when dive watches were just getting off the ground. Historically speaking, the DS family is most closely associated with the underwater world, with the DS2 Super PH500M having been utilized in the US government's Tektite underwater habitat trials of 1969 and 1970. These projects were carried out under the supervision of the Department of Interior and NASA, which required scientists to live in underwater tanks for months with the goal of studying the psychological effects of being in tight quarters of a saturation diving environment. Hence why NASA was involved, as they saw many similarities to what was going to be experienced during the Apollo program and being isolated for long periods of time with crew members. Beyond this, Certina's DS3 Super PH1000M was used by the Royal Australian Navy clearance divers during a good portion of the 1970s, furthering their dive watch legitimacy. And then following the precise lineage of these diving legends is the watch that is the subject of this video here today, the Super PH1000M STC. Certina has updated this line quite a bit as of late, first introducing a black dial, a limited edition orange version, and the latest take, a turquoise STC dial version. For the sake of this video, we will discuss mostly the new turquoise blue version, however most of the same themes can be carried out through the entire lineup. Serving up as a modern day reinterpretation of those history-making watches, the Certina DS Super PH1000M STC is a real deal 1000 meter diver watch with a laundry list of overbuilt features. For the vintage-minded among us, the black dial will probably be more of your speed, with the orange being right there along with it, with the turquoise continuing to amp up the visual impact. And one more thing, what does STC mean? What this stands for is the Sea Turtle Conservancy, an environmental protection initiative founded in 1959, long before nature conservation was a trendy cause. It's an organization that Certina has supported since 2017, and coincidentally, Certina has also used a turtle symbol as part of their brand since 1959. Part of the proceeds of this STC edition will help support the group's conservation efforts, and you'll find a cool Easter egg a little bit later around its connection to this cause, or probably should say a turtle egg. Given the unforgiving nature of the sea, divers throughout history have relied on the toughest, most durable tool watches available to them, and the DS Super PH1000M certainly fits the bill. Like similar watches, the stainless steel is positively rugged, and while not exactly small, it carries itself in a way that wears well on a broader range of wrists than you might actually think. Imagine a vintage Doxa sub or Seiko divers with their cushion-style cases and shorter lug length, and then you start to get the idea. Dimensions are as follows: 43.5 millimeters in diameter, a lug-to-lug just under 48 millimeters, and a case height that's a hair over 14 millimeters. Due to the sloping contours of the case sides that continue up to the bezel profile, you'll find that the watch wears closer to a 40.5 to 41 millimeter case, and keep in mind this is only slightly longer on that lug-to-lug end measurement than a Tudor Black Bay 58 or a Hamilton Khaki Field Mechanical, two pieces that sit easily under 40 millimeters with their diameters. The included 20 millimeter strap is a black FKM rubber model that features contrasted orange stitching, complementing the orange accents on the dial, and is comfortable in its wear. However, it does come with quick release spring bars, which will make it easy to swap to a variety of suitable strap pairings. Naturally, the caseback and crown both screw down to help ensure 1000 meters of water resistance. And remember when I mentioned that whole turtle egg thing? The caseback features an embossed sea turtle as part of the Sea Turtle Conservancy logo. An automatic helium escape valve sits discreetly on the case side at 9 o'clock, and there's another hidden feature I should bring up. The back of the case features 4 slots that siphon water directly underneath the bezel. But with that, the question comes up, why is Certina doing this? So if you spend any time in the ocean, it makes it easy to flush out the sand and salt water that might hinder the bezel action. Pretty ingenious feature if you ask me. Further talking about the bezel deserves some special mention as well regarding this, as it employs a push-to-turn spring-loaded automated system that prevents accidental turning, a clever solution to a problem that could have spelled life or death to those diving pioneers, where an unforeseen knock underwater could impact the shown elapsed time. The case utilizes a nice blend of brushed and polished finishing that screams utility while adding just a hint of elegance. The sloping bezel has a fantastic action once you get acquainted with the push-down maneuver, and it offers great grip in the process. Opting for authenticity to the past, Certina does choose to go with an aluminum bezel insert, foregoing the extra scratch resistance that comes with ceramic, but does evoke this vintage style in the process. The colorful dial is protected by a flat sapphire crystal that's anti-reflective coated on both sides for better visibility, and when looking through that crystal, we're given a view of that dial underneath. In the case of the turquoise, the color punches with its saturation in that shade of blue, featuring some blazing pops of orange set at the dial perimeter outside the applied hour markers, pairing with the orange minute hand. The hands and applied hour indices get a dose of superluminova for low light legibility, and the bezel pip as well, which, speaking of, shines quite well, although I wouldn't say it's on the same level of that of Seiko or Citizen, for example. A white frame date window sits at 3. Branding is fairly simple, with Certina's word mark, logo, and word automatic below the 12, and DS in the somewhat lengthy model name above 6. And yes, DS Super PH1000M doesn't exactly roll off the tongue, but it continues the naming conventions of those vintage models, so there is historical precedent. And then from there you get some of the summation of this package. If you're attracted to colorful dials of divers from Doxa or Seiko, you're likely going to love this look as well. The dial has a vintage correct diameter of just 28 millimeters, which helps the watch wear smaller, and like a Doxa sub, gives the watch an awesome retro feel. Now the movement is where you'll find a swatch group source at a caliber, which has a rate of 21,600 vibrations per hour or 3 Hertz. So while it's not a high beat movement, the lower rate helps the watch achieve an 80-hour power reserve. The caliber here is known more precisely as the ETA C07.611, with this being the lowest level grade that Certina is going to use from all of those Powermatic movements, with base architecture being off of the ETA 2824. The movement also boasts a Nivacron balance spring, which is a titanium-based alloy made by the Swatch Group, which helps alleviate the adverse effects of magnetic fields, further enhances the caliber shock resistance, and also is going to enable more stable oscillation during temperature changes. The DS in the DS Super PH1000M model name stands for double security, as we talked about a little earlier, a concept first employed by Certina back in 1959, with this shock protection system still doing its job to this day. The movement, as well as the watch itself, is going to be engineered in a way that's going to be able to take on the real-world abuse that will come with the day-to-day, and those extra steps in the watch's construction truly inspire confidence. In terms of general breakdown of the movement, again, 21,600 beats per hour, 3 Hertz, does feature hacking and hand winding, hacking stop in the seconds when you pull the crown to the farthest position, a power reserve of 80 hours. So now let's unpack, talk a little bit more about the DS Super PH1000M STC, and like I said, that one really does roll off the tongue. It's a lot to say there. Let's start with some of the cons, and then we'll shift into the pros. So first off, I'll just talk about the sizing of this piece. Yes, it is not going to be the smallest of watches out there. I'd say it's more in this middle ground, but with that 43.5 millimeter diameter, there are going to be people on the smaller end of things that might be sized out. Keep in mind the lug-to-lug dimension. This is going to wear closer to like a Seiko Turtle, if not even more compact. It's in that whole genre, and if you're familiar with watches of this case shape, just be familiar with that, but it might not be in alignment with everybody's preferences for case sizes. Secondly, Certina is not a brand that's going to jump out to people and be one that everyone's going to know. It's mostly known in specific parts of Europe, but also for those in the inner diving circle of people that know the history of this genre of watch. And then one final point I'll mention is the loom is actually quite good. I wouldn't say it's bad loom by any means, but if you compare it to that of a Seiko or a Citizen, I would say it's one step below those. But now we shift over to the pros. So vintage dive watches aren't everybody's thing, but if a classic Doxa style Seiko reference from the 1970s is in your wheelhouse, Certina absolutely needs to be on your short list, and for many it's just not on their short list. And if you consider all of this storied pedigree that this brand has in the dive watch arena, and you're looking at this watch as virtually being a one-to-one of some of these vintage examples, it starts to bring to light why these watches are even more compelling. The look across the board for these watches is distinct, and beyond that look, you're getting a seriously overbuilt dive watch that can take on just about anything you could dish out. 1,000 meters of water resistance is no joke for any dive watch, especially in this price range. The case has a quality feel to it, great finishing across the board, the bezel action is phenomenal. The movement is going to give you that 80-hour power reserve, stellar across across the board in terms of its specification. And beyond all of this, also you're having proceeds from some of the sales of these watches benefiting a good cause. So who is this watch for? It's not going to be for every person, but if you're a dive watch lover, want a brand that is underrated but also has a history in producing some of the most important dive watches of all time, but maybe isn't discussed enough about, and wanted in a package that fuses vintage with contemporary flair with a new dial color, that's exactly who this watch is for. But all right, guys, that's all we have for this video. If you did enjoy it, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, hit the bell icon. Really do appreciate that. Also, this watch is available on TeddyBaldassarre.com. TeddyBaldassarre.com is an authorized dealer for over 30 brands, quick and fast fulfillment, dedicated customer support, and a full factory warranty for all the products that we offer. Also, how we're able to fund all of our productions on our main channel as well as here is through selling watches. So if you are in the market for a watch, we'd love to have your business. We know you can buy a watch in a lot of places nowadays, but it allows us to keep doing what we're doing here. We love what we do. Guys, thank you again so much for watching. Be well, and I will see you all very soon.